Welcome to Learning Out Loud, a space for honest conversation as life is happening. I'm Kate, and this podcast is about the moments that shape us, the stress, the growth, the uncertainty, and the lessons we only learn by living them. Now, I'm not here as an expert with all the answers. I'm here learning in real time, sharing what I'm discovering whilst holding space for those figuring it out too. So, wherever you're listening, walking, driving, or just taking a moment for yourself, I'm really glad you're here. Let's learn out loud together. I feel like my weekly recaps are literally getting so same old, but I'm the most habitual person you'll ever meet, and my life really doesn't change unless it's like every 6 months when I'm having a midlife crisis. So this week, again, very, very busy at work, lots of momentum still. One new thing we actually did do this week was some next tier training, which was actually really good. And I guess this does embed itself into today's conversation as well, which we'll get onto a little bit later. But yeah, I feel like training's really, really good. I've always been one of those people that, as much as it's a slog when you know it's booked in, it's just an excuse to find new approaches, create new inspiration, even if it's going over information that you already know or have learned previously. It's really interesting to strip it right back down to the basics and kind of expose maybe the habits that you've let slide and things you should be doing more. So I've definitely got a lot more direction and excitement of the week ahead. I've got some new things that I want to start implementing. And yeah, I feel like it just gives you that little refresh of inspiration and energy, especially in a sales role like mine. It can get very draining sometimes, very repetitive. So yeah, feeling very inspired by that, which is really good. And as always, just so many honest and clarifying conversations. There was so many things I wanted to speak about in today's episode, and I was wondering, do I make separate episodes? Do I try and mix them all together? I think they actually all oddly merge into one. I've also been reflecting a lot these last few weeks, and what's really interesting is the more I do this, the more I realize becoming who you're meant to be doesn't happen on accident. It's intentional, and it requires participation. I often think how easy it is to say that you want growth in life, but not creating the space for it. But what you need to realize is the version of you that you're hoping for, praying for, dreaming about, she not only requires invitation, but she also needs somewhere to exist. Now, I speak for us all when I say this. We all would love for transformation to just happen passively. Like one day we'll just wake up and be brand new in our new headspace, feeling skinnier, healthier, doing our 10K steps, the business we've always dreamed of, you name it. But it starts with realizing that sometimes breakthrough looks more practical before life changing. A habit I'm taking into this new week is pushing back my wake up time from 5 a.m. to 4 a.m. Now, I never thought I'd say this because sleep is the most important thing to me, but I'm not doing this to be some hyper-productive maniac and to say that I wake up at 4 a.m. But for me, my mornings already start very early. Before 5:30, I've gotten up, I've walked the dog, I fed the dog, I've done my skincare, I've gotten ready, and I've headed to my gym class. So that leaves me a total of 13 very tight minutes for myself in the morning before my day started demanding me. Now, yes, admittedly, half of this is by choice because there is nobody obligating me to wake up that early for a gym class. However, that is just something that I've chosen to do because fitness is something that's super important for me and my growth. So I have to factor it in somewhere. And I know the sweet spot is before work because after that, my day is unpredictable. A lot of my energy and time is required. So I can never guarantee that I'll make it. And for a period of time, this was working really, really well for me. But I still felt, as I said, very rushed in the morning, like I wasn't having any intentional time with myself. I function best when I've had time to really get into the word, have more time to think clearly, to pray, and more time to set myself up mentally before the day starts demanding too much of myself. See, the reason why I think this matters so much to me is because I've realized how much of our days we spend reacting to work, people, notifications, even pressure, and everybody else's needs. And before you know it, the day's ended and you haven't even spent one single minute intentionally with yourself. So waking up early for me is less about productivity and more about presence. So it can look different for everybody else. Maybe you don't have such a demanding schedule and an early start like myself, and maybe evenings are better for you. So wherever it fits into your diary and whatever feels best for you, if you're a night owl and early riser, making that scheduled time for yourself before anybody else is demanding you is crucially important so that you can approach your goals and your journey of growth with a clear mind and from a place of overflow as well, because you've already poured so much into yourself that everything else is just from the abundance of that. Now, identity is a very interesting thing because deep down, most of us already know who we are, or at least we think we know the version of ourselves we're being called to be. But the difficult part is consistently choosing the habits and routine that support that version of yourself. What you'll notice is the more aligned you are with the version you want to become, the less optional the things that matter become. You stop squeezing them into whatever time is left over and start intentionally building your life around them. If I say I want peace, I ask myself, well, do your habits and environments reflect that? If I want to grow closer to God, am I making space for Him? If I want to be successful in my career, am I actually working hard enough in order to get there? And if I say I want growth, am I surrounding myself with the right people that encourage me? And this has honestly become so clear for me this week. Thursday evening, I popped over to see my neighbour for a little community group they were hosting. We spoke about identity, breakthroughs, learning yourself properly, and the importance of community. Much like many conversations I've had, I left feeling so encouraged and supported in the version of myself that I currently am and where I'm heading as well. Because as much as isolation can feel comfortable sometimes, it's very hard to grow clearly when everything exists inside your own head. Now, I'm all for small circles and being intentional and selective with friendships, but sometimes we do have to branch out, hear new ideas, new perspectives, and meet people that don't have the current biases that we or others may hold against us, especially when we want to grow. And it can feel uncomfortable, it can feel very vulnerable. But what I will tell you is you will always learn something from having a new conversation with somebody or confiding in somebody as well. There's something really powerful about being witnessed by the right people, not judged or controlled, but just truly seen for who you are. And I think it's also really healing to know that sometimes we don't have to carry everything on our own. When you surround yourself with people who don't just hear you but understand you, everything that you're currently battling with or the growth that you don't quite feel prepared or equipped for seems so much easier. But most importantly, it just creates space for honesty and vulnerability and reminds you that growth isn't something that you are meant to carry on your own. It's like I've mentioned in previous episodes about accountability partners or just having those close friends that you do things with. Sometimes people genuinely do perform better in a team. I am one of those people. And leading on from this, another huge thing for me was just actually opening up and being super vulnerable with one of my mentors. Now, in a previous life, this sort of thing would have been super uncomfortable for me to do, to break down my walls and be honest about my mind and how it operates. But on this journey, I've learned the importance of just being unapologetically myself and finding those people that I can genuinely trust and be open with. Because ultimately, when you confide in them, they're able to see the gaps, push you up, and encourage you where needed. Because there's a difference about talking about growth itself and actually allowing somebody to see the parts of yourself that you normally keep hidden that may be holding you back from what you're capable of. And that's where the real freedom starts. Not pretending that you've got everything together, but finally bringing certain things to light. Because the things that we keep hidden often hold a very heavy weight over us. And the only way to move them sometimes is to stop carrying them on our own. Now, a lot of us want transformation, but when we really dig deep and look at ourselves, we're often still hiding. We want the healing without the honesty, growth without vulnerability, and breakthrough without surrender. But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. The more open I've become, the more I realize that the true freedom is within simply just being known. Real accountability is having people that keep you aligned, whether that be by your side doing it with you or just supporting you from a distance. Those people that lovingly pull you back when you drift, people that remind you with your own words that you've said, and bring you back to your why. The biggest thing I've learned in all of this is becoming requires participation. You have to intentionally create space for that version of you through your routines, your environments, your honesty, and your willingness to be stretched. And that's why these last few months for me have felt so different, because instead of waiting to change, I've actively participated in my becoming. And that's the question I want you to leave with yourself this week. Does my current life accommodate and make room for the person I want to become? Not theoretically, practically. Because the version of you that you're praying for won't happen on accident. She is built through the quiet choices that nobody sees. The mornings you wake up earlier to make time for yourself, the conversations you stop avoiding, the environments you place yourself in, and the honesty you allow yourself to have and others to see. Becoming isn't always a dramatic transformation like we expect. Sometimes it's slowly creating a life that aligns with who you are. I think there's something so beautiful about quietly becoming somebody that you recognize. Now, as always, thank you for listening to Learning Out Loud. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and I'll speak to you next time.